Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker. Make sure you're subscribed to the All This Math YouTube channel. Make sure you like and share. All right, what are we about to get into? We're about to simplify an expression. We're not solving an equation, we're simplifying an expression. This is an expression. It might look complicated, all right, but don't let it intimidate you. All right, that's first things first. Do not let this intimidate you. We're going to do it step by step. And there's a set of rules called the order of operations that will tell us what we should do. What we should do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. All right. Don't let it intimidate you. We're gonna work this out together. All right. So let's first read it. We got 6 times 1/6 plus 5 times the quantity. See these parentheses? This is a group. The parentheses are what we call a grouping symbol. A grouping symbol. Just like brackets and braces are a grouping symbol. All right. 5 times the quantity of 2 times 6 divided by 4 minus 3. All right. We don't say 5 parentheses. We don't say the word parentheses. Right. That's passe. Right. That's not sophisticated. All right. We call this a quantity. Right. Everything inside the parentheses is a quantity. This 6 is in parentheses, but that's not really a quantity. That's just a 6. These parentheses are only being used to show multiplication. These parentheses are not really a grouping symbol because there's no group. Inside these parentheses, you got a whole group. You got one, two, three, four different numbers, right? That's a group, four different numbers with different operations taking place: multiplication, division, and subtraction. All right. So understand when parentheses are used to show multiplication and when parentheses are used to show grouping. All right. Because when it's grouping, you treat things one way, you do the math one way. When it's multiplication, you do the math a different way. All right. Now, first question: what should we do first? Now, according to the order of operations, we should simplify everything inside the grouping symbols or inside the parentheses. So I look inside the parentheses and I read what's in there. I see 2 times 6 divided by 4 minus 3. All right. So inside the parentheses, then we got to make decisions again. We got multiplication, division, and subtraction. All right. Now, working from left to right, we're going to multiply first. Right. Now, even though PEMDAS, which confuses a whole lot of people all over the world, right? PEMDAS has the M before the D, right? The M is always before the D. But so a lot of people make the assumption that you should always multiply before you divide. That is wrong. You should not always do that. In this particular problem, we are multiplying first because as you read the problem from left to right, starting within the group, not all of this. We ain't dealing with all this. We're dealing with what's inside the group, right? We see multiplication first. So that's why we do multiplication first. If the division had been first, if this had said 2 divided by 6 times 4, then best believe we would divide first. But we work from left to right. We do what we see first when it's between multiplication and division. So this is going to become 12. I'm going to just do that and just write 12 right there because 2 times 6 is 12. Make sure you have your multiplication facts memorized. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 6 is not 8. 2 times 6 is not 10. It's not 15. Ain't none of that. 2 times 6 is 12. Just like 6 times 2 is 12. Then we're going to have 12 divided by 4 and then minus 3. Then we're going to divide, then we're going to subtract. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So we got 12 divided by 4, that's 3. So this is going to turn into a 3. Now understand where these numbers are coming from. Remember, the 2 times 6 becomes 12. And then we're going to do 12 divided by 4. Make sure you know your division facts. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now you're left with 3 minus 3. What's 3 minus 3? 0. This whole group turns into a 0. The whole group turns into a 0. All right, again, 2 times 6 gave me 12. 12 divided by 4 gave me 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Now, multiplication and division supersedes subtraction. So we do the multiplication and division first, and then we subtract. That's how we end up with 0. Now let's rewrite this problem. I got 6 times 1/6 plus 5 times 0. Now look at what we got. I got multiplication, addition, and multiplication. Again, these parentheses do not mean grouping. This is not a grouping symbol. This just means that I'm going to multiply 5 times 0. This used to be a group, and now it's just one number. It ain't a group no more. It's just a 0. So we're going to do 5 times 0. So now we got to make a decision. What do I do next? I got multiplication. I got multiplication. What we're not about to do is do 1/6 plus 5 because that violates the order of operations. We got to go in the proper order. We're going to multiply this and multiply these two and multiply these two. So 6 times 1/6 is 1. Whenever you multiply a number by its reciprocal, 1/6 is the reciprocal of 6. How do I know that? Because if 6 had been represented as a fraction, what would it look like? It would look like this. It would look like 6 over 1. And a reciprocal is when the numerator and the denominator switch places. The numerator and the denominator switch places. The numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator. So the reciprocal of 6 over 1 is 1 over 6. Also, whenever you multiply a number by its reciprocal, the product is always 1. That's the rule of reciprocals, right? Or multiplicative inverses is what we call it. All right, that's the fancy math term for it. So 6 times 1/6 is going to be 1. Bring your plus sign down. 5 times 0. Anytime you multiply a number by 0, what's that called? The zero property of multiplication. I forget the specific term for it, but it's a property of multiplication. Whenever you multiply by 0, your product is always going to be 0. So 5 times 0 is 0. So then we left with just one choice, one operation, addition. 1 plus 0 is 1. Boom. That's the answer. 1 plus 0 is 1. And again, I want you to take account of something, right? When you first saw this problem, if you're a young person, even if you're an adult, and you're not real comfortable with these types of problems with a bunch of numbers in it, bunch of parentheses in it, bunch of plus signs, minus signs, and all that, bunch of, whole lot going on in the problem. Just remember, just do the problems one step at a time. Make sure you have your rules. Make sure you got the list of order of operations either written down in your notebook, in the textbook that you're looking at, or online on a website opened up on your laptop or somewhere, your laptop, your tablet, or your smartphone or whatever. All right. And just look at the rules. Look at the rules. Just read through the problem and just decide, what am I going to do first? What am I going to do second? What am I going to do third? What am I going to do fourth? The rules tell you what you should do. All right. Just like we know from the rules that we had to work out everything inside the parentheses first. So that means I ain't worried about all this at first. At first, I ain't worried about this because they not in parentheses. I'm worried about what's in the parentheses. All right. So I go to the parentheses. Then when I'm in the parentheses, I'm still following the rules. I'm like, okay, do I add first, subtract first, multiply, divide? What do the rules tell me? Just follow the rules. Make sure you got the rules written down until you can memorize them. And don't deal with PEMDAS. Just deal with the actual order of operations. Because PEMDAS might confuse you. All right. Because PEMDAS have you think you're supposed to always multiply before you divide. That's wrong. That is wrong. Flat out. That's wrong. You do not always multiply before you divide. You multiply or you divide or you multiply, depending on what comes first as you read the problem from left to right. See, all that detail is lost. It's lost in PEMDAS. It's not in PEMDAS, but you need that detail because without that detail, you may get wrong answers. Like I said earlier, if this had said 2 divided by 6 times 4, that would mean you would divide 2 by 6 first and then multiply that quotient by 4. Whereas a lot of people that are confused by PEMDAS, they always think you're supposed to multiply first, multiply first, multiply first. That is wrong. Abuse yourself of that notion. Dispel that myth. Let's dispel that myth. That's one of the most worst myths in the black community, that we're supposed to always multiply before we divide. You don't. All right. I'm here to tell you. I'm trying to help you. All right. So look, just, but don't let these problems intimidate you is my whole point, right? Just work it out step by step, work out what's inside the parentheses. And then look, all of that just simplify it to a 0. Now the problem is much smaller. All right. And then you got to decide, because you got three operations: multiplication, addition, multiplication, multiplication, addition, multiplication. You got to decide what to do. You're going to multiply here. You're going to multiply here. Then you got your plus sign. So you're going to have 1 plus 0. That's leaving you with 1. All right. So go get some practice with these. I'll see you all in the next video.